and
yeah, the guy who runs Hipster Please, Z, he's actually a really big fan of Wizard Rock, and he puts a lot of information on his site about Wizard Rock and about, you know, different things that are happening, because I think he feels that there also should be a lot more of a crossover. And I know him and Liz Clemens, who used to run the Pedia, were good friends and you know, planned things together. Like she did some work on his podcast and things
she
like
she actually helped quite a bit with the old Nerdy Bastard comp and putting Z into touch with people and things like that. So I think it's less the artistic kind of melding and more of the just sort of helping each other out and just sort of that community, that sort of common community thing. You know, it's, as Z's kind of has put it before, you know, we're all just nerds. So you know.
I think it's also the more Harry Potter kind of gets accepted into larger general fan conferences, it's going to help us kind of get in the circles, because I've seen a bunch of nerdcore at general conferences too, and now like Wizard Rock is like slowly getting added into these ones. And that's, I think, something that's been hugely missing, is these general conferences inviting, like, letting us into the circle. Because it was last year I played at PenguinCon up in Michigan, and I was supposed to this year, but I had work issues, and it was just, like, that was a huge eye-opener for me and for everybody at that conference. That was a lot of those people, they were like, whoa, this is like a thing.
And I know that at the Whomping Willows and JFF and Lauren were all actually asked to perform at like a general nerd conference, which they were really excited about, because, you know, having the opportunity to expose your music to different sorts of people. Richard, do you have a question?
Yeah, something I think has to do with the failure that we have to overlap is like differences in source material. I mean, I know we're all nerds, but if you consider, for example, like books and movies, or excuse me, books and music nerds, and you have like, you know, computers and games, I mean, there's some shared interest with those people, but they're also kind of sitting on other sides of the ballpark.
Oh yeah, that's definitely it. But I mean, the nerdcore stuff is, you've got otaku, you've got the game nerds, you've got the book nerds, you've got the movie. I mean, it's really is kind of across the board as far as pretty much every, you know, anything.
And maybe by a show of hands, how many of you participate in another fandom other than Harry Potter or Wizard Rock?
Yeah, that's about it.
So we have two online questions, and Mallory will state one of them because I just can't get it out.
Scrib Girl would like to know what hair products you use, Monica, because she thinks your hair looks absolutely fantastic.
Because he heard my curly hair diatribe, a truncated one, but yesterday. Squib, I'll let you know later.
Okay. And Steen asks, do you think more Wizard Rockers eventually will go over to more general nerdy music, like we have seen with Oceanic 6 and so on?
I think that's definitely the case. Just judging by the people who live in my house. So as you don't know, I live with Luke Connard and Jason Monday from the Ministry of Magic. And Luke has a side project with Christina Horner called All Caps, which is about World of Warcraft and robots and zombies, and hopefully dinosaurs in the future if I can convince them to talk about dinosaurs. And the three of us have a band called The Oceanic Six, which is about the television program Lost. So I think that's definitely the direction that a lot of people are heading. Also, Matt and Lauren have a project called Armored Bear Cub, and that is about all sorts of dorky stuff too. So I think that, that a lot of bands who have sort of cut their teeth on Harry Potter will be moving into other...
We have a friend who's Witherwings,
right.
And she also does Twilight.
Right. And Erin Pine does the same thing.
Exactly. Apparently the Venn diagram is very tiny. I was going to say there, and there's definitely a campaign within my household to get some Percy Jackson rock happening.
Yes.
judging by the people that live in our house.
Wait, can I call the band Party Clones?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What were your questions?
Me?
Yeah.
I feel like Wizard Rock has really taken off and grown beyond just the scope of the books in a way that other fan genres like Twilight Rock or, Percy Jackson Rock have not. Do you feel that's thanks to the fans or the nature of the text or just the fact that Harry Potter has more fans or what?
I think it's a combination of things, definitely. And I mean, I've wondered too, like, does the Harry Potter fandom have more musicians than any other fandom? Like, is that how we got Wizard Rock?
Actually, there's a certain link between literacy and music.
And music.
Yeah,
and so, I mean, that is the sort of thing. But, like, nobody thought to do this about book series necessarily in any sort of big way before. And I think it's just a matter of, like, the fact that the pool of Harry Potter fans is so huge that, like, you can just pull out, even 1% of those people are talented musicians. That's a lot of people, like what did Deathly Hallows sell? 12 million copies on its first day, that's a lot of really talented musicians apparently in like 1% example. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different elements that sort of like go together with it. What do you guys think?
I think that question sort of leads to talking about meta Wizard Rock, which is, I mean, it's something that kind of just happened. I think some of the earliest Wizard Rock songs were talking about the experience with the books and not particularly the books themselves, and that grew in many different ways into people talking about themselves and sort of putting that in with the rest of their Wizard Rock stuff. And I think that's always been a part of the community, but I'm not sure why people don't talk about that in other communities. I think it's a sort of a natural step.
Yeah, like going into the whole like away from Harry Potter into like other nerd things. Like that's why I'm a nice picture because like it doesn't have too much to do with Harry Potter and I can still write album music and people want to put your band spot, make your band names relate to Harry Potter. And like today, like I played a song about Lord of the Rings and like Pocahontas.
But with Madam Wizard Rock, I kind of feel like it's neat because we all have inside jokes because we're friends or we're part of a community. But like when Matt gets on stage and plays Wizard Rock Heartthrob, like unless this is the first time that you've heard him play that song, it's a huge inside joke for every single person in the room, and we can feel superior to all the people that aren't in the room, like, we get this. We think this is funny. If anybody else listened to a lot of Wizard Rock, they would understand that it was about Harry Potter per se, but if somebody listened to Wizard Rock Heartthrob, no clue, right? I mean, like, it's just not going to be something that's accessible to everyone, so.
Did you call it Meta Wizard Rock?
Meta.
I think we should call it Meta.
Meta after Wizard Rock Heartthrob?
After everything. I think Matt is like the leading purveyor of Meta Wizard Rock. I'm calling it Meta from now on.
Meta Wizard Rock. Go ahead in the back.
Do you think both the Nerdcore and the Wizard Rock community would, like, so I know, like, some of the bigger name stars are starting to, like, put references in their songs and stuff, but, like, Andrew WK did a Gundam album of all the Gundam songs, like, of Gundam songs, and it's accessible to everybody. Do you think that would draw people into the community as well? Like, if people, like, the bigger name stars that people know, like, Andrew WK or Miley Cyrus, even though I don't want to say it, but if them, people that, like, named people know, if they started doing more references and stuff like that to, say, video games, do you think that would draw more people into the community?
Is the album called Gundam Party?
I don't know what
I hope it is.
My best friend, like, she's like, that would be the only Andrew WK album I bought.
Yeah.
Just because she's so excited that he said Gundam Ooh in it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think, like, once people hear that and they go, oh, songs about video, songs about cartoons, songs about video games, songs about whatever, I like this topic, you're naturally going to seek out more, right? And so I think that would have a huge influence. And I think the exception might be the Switchblade Kittens, who, you have to say, as a Wizard Rock fan, they did put out an entire Wizard Rock album.